The first time he asked me to come with him to his family's farmhouse, I thought it would be just another weekend of quiet skies and endless fields, a break from the noise of the city. But I didn't know then how much that night would change me, how much it would change us. It was late summer, the air warm enough that the windows of his truck were rolled down, letting the wind whip through my hair as we drove. He sat at the wheel with that casual ease I'd always envied, one hand resting lightly, the other tapping against the radio as he hummed along. His name was Aiden, and though I'd known him for years, I'd never stopped noticing how the light fell on his face differently every time, making him seem at once familiar and brand new. We'd been friends for so long that most people around us just assumed that was all we'd ever be. But for me, friendship had long since given way to something deeper, something I carried quietly, hidden behind laughter and casual touches. Sometimes I caught myself watching him too closely, memorizing the slope of his shoulders, the way his jaw tightened when he was deep in thought, the way his smile lit up his whole face like sunrise breaking open the dark. The farmhouse came into view just as the sun was melting into orange over fields. It was beautiful in its simplicity, wooden, weathered, with a porch that seemed to hold the weight of decades of quiet evenings. He parked and hopped out easily, calling to me with a grin, as if this place wasn't just walls and land but a part of him. Inside, it smelled faintly of cedar and old books. He gave me the quick tour, though I wasn't listening much. I was watching him. His eyes bright when he talked about the summers he'd spent here, his voice softer when he pointed to the photographs on the walls. He was never more himself than in this place, and something about that made my heart ache in the best way. As night settled, we sat on the porch together, a blanket over our legs, watching stars bloom across the wide country sky. He poured us both a drink, and we talked about everything and nothing, school, dreams, fears we never said out loud anywhere else. Somewhere between the laughter and the silences, I felt the weight of my secret pressing harder than ever. I wanted so badly to tell him. He leaned back, stretched, and his shoulder brushed mine. Such a small touch, but it sent a shiver through me. He noticed. He always noticed more than he admitted. His gaze lingered on me for a beat too long, and I had to look away before my own gave me away. When the night cooled, we moved inside. The farmhouse felt different at night, softer, quieter, like it was keeping secrets. Aiden built a fire in the old stone fireplace, the glow painting his skin in gold. I sat on the rug, pretending to be fascinated by the flames, but really, I was watching him. The way his shirt clung just enough, the chain around his neck catching the light every time he moved. "You're awfully quiet," he said, lowering himself onto the rug beside me. His voice was playful, but there was something underneath it, something testing. "Just thinking," I said, though it sounded weak. "About what?" I hesitated. The truth was too big, too fragile. But when I looked at him, his eyes steady on mine, I felt the words rise like they'd been waiting years. "About us." The fire crackled. He didn't move, didn't speak, just let the silence stretch until I thought I might break under it. Then, softly, he said, "I've thought about us, too." I turned sharply, searching his face for the joke, the tease. But there was none. His eyes were steady, serious, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. My chest tightened. "You have?" He gave a small, almost nervous laugh, for longer than I should admit. The room seemed to tilt. All those years of holding back, of convincing myself it was one-sided, unraveled in a moment. He was looking at me like he'd been waiting, too. The firelight flickered across his features as he leaned closer. My pulse roared in my ears. And then his lips touched mine, gentle, tentative, as though asking a question. My answer came instantly, desperately, as I leaned in, deepening the kiss. It was like every unspoken word, every restrained feeling finally had its voice. His hand slid against my cheek, warm and steady, anchoring me in the storm of it all. When we finally pulled back, both breathless, I couldn't stop smiling. Neither could he. I was scared, I admitted quietly. "Scared you never feel the same." "You think I wasn't scared?" He laughed softly, forehead pressing to mine. "I've loved you for years. Just didn't know how to tell you, without losing what we already had." The confession wrapped around me like the blanket earlier, warm and safe. We kissed again, slower this time, savoring. The night outside faded into nothing but the sound of his heartbeat, steady under my hand. We spent hours talking, curled up on that rug, the fire burning low. He told me about the times he almost confessed at graduation on a late-night drive, that time I'd fallen asleep on his shoulder, and he'd almost whispered it then. I told him about the ache of loving him silently, about the nights I'd lain awake imagining what this moment would feel like. At some point we moved to the couch, tangled together, half asleep, but unwilling to let go. His hand traced idle patterns on my arm, his breath warm against my hair. There was no rush, no urgency, just the quiet miracle of being together at last. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the farmhouse walls, but inside, everything felt steady, certain. I'd never felt more at home than I did in his arms. The morning light filtered through the curtains, golden and soft. I woke to find him still holding me, his face peaceful in sleep. I lay there watching him, overwhelmed by the simple beauty of it. Of him, of us. For once, there was no fear, no pretending. Just truth. When he stirred, blinking awake, the first thing he did was smile at me. And it was the kind of smile that told me everything I needed to know about the future we were stepping into. We made breakfast together, bumping into each other in the small farmhouse kitchen, laughing when he burned the toast. Every little thing felt new, brighter somehow, because now it was ours. That day stretched into another and another. Neither of us wanted to leave. The world outside could wait. For now, we had this place, this love we'd finally found the courage to claim. It wasn't grand or dramatic. It was better. It was a quiet joy of holding hands over coffee, of sharing secrets and whispers, of falling asleep knowing I would wake up to him again. And maybe that's what love really is. Not the fireworks, but the steady flame. Not the rush, but the lasting warmth. Looking back now, I realized that night at the farmhouse wasn't just the beginning of us. It was a moment I finally let myself feel everything I'd been holding back. It was a moment I finally knew, without doubt, without fear, that his heart was mine and mine was his. And I've never let go since.